Good evening. Welcome to Above Ground Leadership Podcast, episode 3, week 3. You're back with Ray and Ashley. We're on here to talk about a little leadership. All right. Ashley, how are you doing today?
I've had better days, but it's hump day.
That's right. That's right. Listen,
we on the decline of the week. It's almost Friday.
It's better to be seen than viewed. It's better to be seen than viewed. So this week we're going to talk about. So we're reading this book called the 5 Dysfunction of a Team, right? And it's a pretty interesting book. It's the author kind of talks about 5 different dysfunctions that all kind of lead into each other. You know, he talks about the absence of trust, the fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and the inattention to results. And how all those things, if you look at a dysfunctional team, or you look at a team that probably should be successful or should find some success, but they just aren't, these 5 habits or steps or non-steps are not being or are being used, or lack of these 5 steps. So really interesting. You know, we kind of started in our little pre-talk talking about them. So we'll pick up right there, Ashley. You kind of talk about where you were going with your conversation.
I think the biggest part for me, like initially when you presented this idea to me, you know, my very first thought was, I don't know where I am in the decision-making process. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, where my standing is. So I just initially applied it to me personally. Most of my professional experience or any experience in any arena has always been team member, not so much team leader. Like, I don't have a family of my own. So, I mean, I do.
I understand.
I'm not a leader of a family. I'm not, I have a manager, and I'm not entry level, but I'm the kind of like intermediate level. Right. So I don't have any people that directly report to me. So my contribution to this topic is very much like amongst the people. So it's like when we're breaking down these 5 different skills, my thing is, how do I fit into all of these different categories and if they apply? So
let me, I want to interact on that one. As you say that, that's important, because these functions, as you know, the leader of the team, right, really is probably the final decision maker, but the team, right, is where everything happens.
Right.
So the absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, the avoidance of accountability, and the inattention to results is talking about the team, not just the leader, right?
But a lot of these topics have a very top-down approach. Like, these leaders are making decisions that they think will work for the team instead of paying attention to what the team needs.
So that's not the topics. Like, now what you said, that's the leader.
Right. But what I'm saying is, out of the people who are doing the assessments of these 5 topics aren't team members. The people who are making decisions based on these skills to see if there's a lack of accountability, to, basically running some type of data to get a general idea of what's going on. It's not the team that's doing it. It's like, typically it's a manager that's looking at numbers and thinks that the performance should be better, or, they're looking for ways to improve things, looking at numbers, not looking at the team, not looking at the components that make the team. And most of the time it's people. And, with my experience professionally, that is what I have come across, and why I have walked away from positions, because it's like the management, they get so caught up in managing the numbers and not the people. And that oftentimes
leadership.
And it's just like, I don't know how to talk about this and not make it personal.
Make it personal.
I'm trying not to.
But so what I'm hearing is, again, because I don't believe, you know how I am about leadership, right? And I don't believe that a manager or managers, multiple guys or girls, right, don't or haven't made mistakes in their leadership, right? That's what it is, right? But I do know good leaders, right? Good leaders and good leadership. It's about the people. You're only as good as your people, right? And the part about not being part of a team, and this is one of the interesting things I got from this book, is everybody's part of a team, right? So just if you look at this from this standpoint, right? Let's just kind of go with the military hierarchy, right? Or just, let's just use military hierarchy, right? So you have a commander, and he has his company, right? He has his 100 troops under him or her, right? And so in theory, he's the commander of this here. That's his team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, his boss, the colonel, has 4 or 5 commanders, right?
Right.
So the commander he's part of a team that's with some subordinates, but he's also part of a team of commanders that has a boss, that's the colonel, right?
I understand.
Right. So everybody's part of this team, and good leaders understand that. They understand that, I always say everybody got a boss. Like at some way, even when you're an entrepreneur, the IRS is your boss, right? Everybody has a boss, right? And so that's why I like reading this book. I was just like, okay, it has some really good points in it, right? And it talked about, these 5 steps, and I just always put this analogy together. Say you're on this raft, right? You're on this raft and you're trying to go that way, right? Trying to go that way. Everybody's supposed to be paddling that way. So when you get in a room, when you get in a raft, the people that's facing that way and this way and that way, they're easy to fix because they're not facing in the direction that you want to go, right? But those aren't the people on the team that you have to worry about. The people that you have to worry about are the ones that's facing this way. It looks like they're facing the same direction. And as you're moving 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet up the road, it looks all good. But when you get a mile up the road, now that little 90 degrees they're off, right? They're way off. And those are the ones that get your team. So that's the dynamic and hard part of leadership, is finding the ones that's not totally off, because the ones totally off, they're easy to fix. You're gonna turn you around, or I'm gonna get rid of it, right? But it's the ones who really don't say much, and they're kind of, they say they're on your side, but they really have their own agenda. And then as your team moves down the road, y'all are this far apart, right? That's like one of the really dynamic things I took from this book, right? So I go ahead.
My position on this, and I want to talk about the hierarchy of businesses and the military as well. I think the higher up you go, the lack of accountability also goes up. Like
I believe that's personality driven, right? Because I believe as I went up my hierarchy, my accountability actually got higher, right? But that's just who I am. That's on the person. I don't believe, and I think of some colonels that I done work with that I'm like, man, this, like, the standard is the standard, right? But then I do know what you mean. Like when people start going up, they kind of almost feel that they are not untouchable, but everything don't pertain to them.
They become better delegators, and they are not productivity driven. They're just numbers. So it's just like, I'm gonna tell you what I have to tell you to make the numbers work. And it's like, that's not all it is, and it's like, sometimes like people's, for example, learning styles are different. So you can train, you can have the same training material and send it to 10 people, and 10 people will understand it 10 different ways.
No
But you
question.
want to get it one way, but
Right,
that's not how it works.
right.
So it's you have to individualize training to make sure that your people very clearly understand what they're supposed to be doing. But a lot of companies take this cookie cutter approach to training, and I think they lose a lot of people there. They invest thousands and thousands of dollars into training people wrong.
hmm
And so when you train people wrong, you it's very easy to
You get
highlight these steps
you get the
because,
wrong results, right?
but it's like, but if you put in the work initially, figuring out who you're hiring, figuring out where they're at, and putting them in to learn correctly,
Mhm.
to actually give them an opportunity to buy into what you're selling and to understand the different parts that make your business work, you're more likely to avoid some of these things.
No question.
Especially like in the times that we live in now, people have transferred a lot of those responsibilities to technology and transferred a lot of those responsibilities onto their employees. So
Right.
for example, I work at a company where I'm required to have certain licenses to do my job.
hmm
My job says, hey, here's a link, go to this website and take these classes and recertify your license. The type of learner I am, I'm more likely to absorb information if I'm getting it in a classroom environment. I'm
Right,
less to absorb the information if you send me to a website.
right, right.
So there's a gap there because I can do the work, and I'm very, I've been doing my job for a long time, so I can fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying?
But you
But
can't be
like,
optimal.
because I don't understand what I'm doing,
Right, right, right.
and and so
And that's a
I've
leadership defect, right?
the
And that's
point.
and go
That's
ahead. I'm
exactly
sorry.
the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
Like,
And I'm and what I okay, and I wholeheartedly agree with that, right? And I guess what I'm saying is, and I don't disagree with that, right? That is a leadership defect, right? Um, but I don't the same way you shouldn't cookie cutter as a leader, right? I won't sit here and say that all CEOs and all the ones that's really successful, they understand that people are the way, right? Leadership is all about relationships, right?
mhm.
That's you people don't care until they know you care, right? Right, and know you genuine, right? You can't do these things on this list unless you know I care about you, and it ain't necessarily caring about you as in doing the what's nice and doing, but I'm doing what's right by you, right? And that goes into, like, say, that absence of trust, right? And so just again, these are dysfunctions of teams that should be optimal. They may have all the talent and they got all the pieces, and they got a elite salesperson, an elite market person, they got elite this and elite that, but they're substandard or they're right at standard, right? And you go back and you figure out why. And it's one, right? Because it starts up top, right? They're missing these 5 steps, right? Or they have, maybe not all of them, but they have issues, right? But they really all lead into each other, right? And so when you got an absence of trust, just think how powerful that is.
Oh, I do. I can see that because I mean, I don't know if this video is gonna reach, this my CEO, but I would definitely say that where I'm at right now, there is a huge lack of trust
Right.
because I'm just like, you guys just threw me into the fire, and I had 2.5 months of not having direct management. I had no idea what I was doing. And then my training, I taught myself. Like I literally was taking classes online by myself for a month. And I'm like, I don't know what's important. I don't know what's not important. I don't know what I'm going to use every day and not use every day. I don't, I literally just had to kind of like piece together enough information to pass the test. And because I'm studying for the test, I'm not actually absorbing anything.
Right.
I think I did
You're just memorizing.
to write, to spit it back out.
Mhm.
So I don't really know what I'm doing. And
Right.
then, I did maybe 2 side by sides where I sat by two different people. So like one person in the office, COVID too. So a lot of people are home. So I watched someone work on my computer screen for half a week. And then the other, I sat next to somebody for like 2 hours. And he was putting out a fire. So I didn't really get to see his
process.
Yes. And I didn't have access to a lot of people's processes to understand how to handle different types of things that we handle. And that was it. They just threw me in after that. And they were just like, figure it out, ask questions if you don't know. And I'm like,
that's hard because you don't know what questions to ask. All right. So okay. Go ahead.
So I just want to build this out and then I'm done.
No. I'll be done.
So yes, so then my numbers start looking funky, right? Like, why haven't you done this? Why haven't you done that? Why is this happening? What? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And your response is, why don't you ask questions? I don't know what to ask. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we're in this cycle. You're like, oh, we can help you, but okay, help me then. But you're not helping me because you keep giving me more work. You're not helping me work through the work that I already have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then I got a new manager who is new to the company. He's not new to the industry. He's just new to the company. So he has a really aggressive learning curve, rightfully so. It's a brand new company. It's not his fault. Like management style, he's a great manager, but he doesn't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? And he should, and he doesn't. It makes sense that he doesn't. So he's in a space where he's asking a lot of questions, which is delaying processes for me because I'm like, I need a manager that knows how to do what I do so that he can anticipate my questions or set me up to handle something before I even get there. You know what I'm saying? My manager doesn't know how to manage me because he doesn't know what I do every day. Not yet. Right. And that's not his fault. Right. It's not his fault that he doesn't know, but they rushed and put a body in there that didn't know what he was doing and lost me completely. Like I was already lost. Like my job is very hard. You know, it's a very hard job and it's really tedious and you need a lot of support when you're learning how to do this job. So when it was pivotal for me to get the support that I needed to really learn how to do my job, the ball was dropped completely. So now they're up like, oh, what's going on with your numbers? And why are you doing this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. The answer to your question is, I don't know. Every question you ask is, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, why do you do that? I don't know. I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know how to start. Like, I don't know anything. And I also don't have a manager that knows how to do it, but his manager is up his butt because the numbers look funny, because my numbers look funny. And it's like, it's reflective of the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. Can I do this? Absolutely. But I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. And so again, that's going, so you, okay. So let's just take your situation.
I know I wasn't supposed to get personal, but
no, that's good. That's good. But so let's just take your situation and let's move right to this chart. Right.
Okay.
This first one says absence of trust, right? This first one says absence of trust. Let's talk about that. So in your situation, you can't go to your manager, right? Because you just said you don't trust that he knows.
He doesn't.
Right? He doesn't. But I mean, so that would stop you from going to him with questions just because he doesn't know, right?
Right.
And so again, we're not talking about you just said, they hired him and he's not new to the business, he's new to the organization. So you would say, let's just say you got an elite level worker as yourself, you got an elite level manager that they hired, right? But the numbers are down. And that's like a direct what I'm talking about which you have the right people in place, but the job is just not getting done. Right. So then it's like a fear of conflict. So somebody somewhere isn't pushing the button and say, hey, this not right. Right.
No, but pressure now is coming on to me. Like, why aren't you doing this? And it's like leading down, I'm pretty sure a nasty road is coming pretty soon, which is fine because I'm just like, I know I'm not doing it because I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't really. So it's like, we're going to start having a very different conversation here soon. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. like, I'm just gonna ride the clock until you guys have a different conversation with me, and I need to start planning my way out. So like that lack of trust is turning to a lack of accountability that is turning to
And it's what it's doing. It's almost like, so
my
first of
level of
all,
is going way down.
right. So the third one says a lack of commitment, right? So you're not feeling like you're being treated well, right? You're not feeling that you're being treated right, right? And then especially to be come back and be questioned about productivity, right? So like you said, I'll just sit it out, right? I'm just wait it out because this, I'm not going to commit to something that no one's committing to me, right? And so that's where, again, in the step 3, you got this lack of commitment, right? It's a lack of commitment. And then it's just so interesting and dynamic when you think about it, like, man, like that's like spot on, right? And these actions really happening. And then you have the avoidance of accountability, right? All right, you got avoidance of accountability. Go ahead.
I'm at a point where I don't even care. Like, I don't care, because like when I was really caring and really trying to figure out how to do my job, they just kept giving me more work and like not allowing me to learn what I was doing. They were just like, hey, so we're understaffed and we have more work than people, so we're just going to keep throwing stuff at you. And I'm like, but I don't understand, and I'm overwhelmed. And then like you change the kind of stuff I've been handling a certain type of issue for this period of time, and you just start adding more stuff. No training, no explanation, no nothing. You just threw more stuff on my plate, unwarned, like, just, hey, figure it out, ask questions if you don't. What? You see what I'm saying? So I'm like,
no, I'm with you.
Yeah, I was committed. This move, and I remember I talked to you about taking this job, because I was like, Dad, they're not really giving me the money that I want, but the title is something that I need to move up professionally. Mm-hmm. So I was like, it's going to be hard, it's going to be aggressive, but I'm going to make the lateral move so that when I'm ready, big move, I can. So I had a different manager when I started, and I had a manager.
Now, did they get promoted and leave, or did they just leave?
She left. She went to another company. Okay. She got an amazing job opportunity, so she bounced. And if the shoe was on the other foot, I would have done the same thing.
Right, no question.
Yeah. So I needed a manager like that to really handhold me through this, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Right. So when I initially started on her team,
anybody ever ask you that?
What?
Or that, I guess, your comfort level of your job. So you say you have no idea. Does anyone other than your manager who left, right? Does anyone else know of your? You just not knowing, right? I don't. Go ahead.
I was saying like gap in training. I don't know.
Right. Or as you just saying, as you just don't get it.
I've tried to express that to some of my, like, we had someone that kind of stood in, while our manager was gone, but she wasn't a manager, so like her authority only extended so far. Mm-hmm. And then we had the assistant vice president, who was kind of like standing in from a managerial standpoint, but he has his own things to do. So his job, like, doubled, because he was trying to support a team and do his job. So he was stressed out, was available, but not really available. And then we had this team person who was also taking claims, who was like available, but not really available. She's like, she was getting killed. And, my manager now, he's starting to point out, he's like, hey, the tenure on my team, I only have one person that's been on my team for at least a year. And the person, our team, still has a bazillion questions. Like, he still doesn't really know what he's doing.
Right.
The person we have on our team is only been on our team for like 4 months. Like, but you have us taking a full caseload as other teams that have people that's been on their team for 15 years. They know what they're doing. You've got people, I've been doing my job for 6 months, 4 months. Mm-hmm. Like, I've been officially doing my job for 4 months. I don't know what I'm doing. You're giving me more work. You're giving me more case types. You're giving me different the different things I have to read and comb through. And your response to me is other people are doing it too. But other people aren't me. And then on top of that, you know, my salary doesn't really make sense for where I live. So like I can't really afford to live off of the salary that I'm getting from you guys. So like I'm uncomfortable, like all the way around. You know what I'm saying?
So okay, all right. So all right. Now we finna turn this. We finna change
Yeah.
this. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm just,
No. You're good. You're good. So all right. You're uncomfortable. You're in this position. What part of how much responsibility of all of this do you have?
all of it.
Well, no, not. I mean, to be fair, now you don't have all because you can't train yourself what you don't know, but you do have a part. So you don't have
Yeah.
all of it. All of it's not you,
But
but
when I'm approached about like, you know, what's going on, my response is always, I don't know. Like, and I think they don't fully articulate when I say I don't know.
Mhm.
They're just like, what part don't you understand? And I'm like, all of it. Like, I don't understand any of it. My training was me. Y'all sent me a link and was like, watch these videos and get it.
So who are you telling that to?
My manager, who's also feels the same way that I feel. Like he
So
feels the same.
do you feel he or she, your manager, is taking that conversation higher, or do you
No,
think it buck stops there?
I don't think he's taking it higher because his manager is just expecting results. His managers just threw him in the fire and was like, hey, figure all this out.
Yeah,
And
that you know, again, that's your delta, right? That's your fault, right? That's the fault in the organization right there because
but here's the thing though, my manager's job is to manage his team, his people.
right.
His is to manage the managers and the numbers. So his boss is a numbers guy. Like that's all
But that
he
doesn't make a lot of sense. That doesn't like make a lot, and you think about this, it doesn't make a lot of sense because the numbers are down. You just like you're saying. So if his job is to manage the numbers, right, and the numbers are down, I got to figure out why these numbers are down. So I would I may not ask you directly, but I would ask my direct report.
is. He's asking. He's like, what is she doing? Like,
So
what does it?
so that's the question I ask. If he's asking that, right? If he's asking down and you're telling up, right? You're saying, hey, this is the issue.
There's a communication gap because my
Right.
manager doesn't understand what he's doing yet. So I think my manager thinks I know how to do more than what I know how to do.
But you're explicitly telling him that you don't.
I'm like, I don't even know how to start. Like majority of the stuff that I have to do, I'm just like, okay, I gotta call these people. What am I asking them for? Like, do I have a template with questions, you know, that I need to ask? Do I have an outline of the type of information I need to gather? And these are things I would get if I had more time, like doing side by sides and learning different processes for how how other people do their job,
Right.
watching them and asking them questions and getting ideas about the things that they use. But I didn't get that. They just threw me in and like they want me to kind of figure it out. And I'm like, this is not my learning style. And I don't understand. And I don't know how to ask for what I don't know how to, I don't know, you know, it is like, it's stressful. And because it's so stressful, I've started to check out
Right.
because I've communicated to the best of my ability to someone that can make a change. Like, hey, I don't know.
So I get it. I hear that. The only thing that I would say, right, and of course, I'm not going through it, right, but you and your manager have this rubber meets the road relationship, right? That's because that's your manager. That's what it is. And I don't. Do you have any opportunity to talk to I guess his manager?
I have spoken to him. He's not the most approachable guy.
Well, and I know like now it's probably you're at the point of you checked out. But going through when you want to be, when you absolutely want to be successful in something, right? We find a way, right?
And I think I'm past that point. Like
Right,
I
no
went,
question. That's what I said. I said I'm sure you're past that now, right? But at some point, you, especially early, because I remember when you took the job, right?
Mhm.
You were eager, right? You were very eager into doing this, and we have to make sure if this is what we want to do, that we get the tools
I
that
was
to do the job.
when I got there, I was like turned off almost immediately because I was just like, okay, I've showed up, I'm here. You know, they showed me how to like turn on my laptop, connect computers, all that. Day one. Day two, they just sent me an Excel spreadsheet. It was like, hey, go to this link and start going through all of these PowerPoint presentations. And I had to go through PowerPoint presentations for 4 weeks.
Mhm.
That was it. There was no like classroom environment. There wasn't places to pause and ask questions. It was just, hey, go through this online program and teach yourself how we do our job.
Yeah.
And I'm a question asker. I get confused a lot. Like I need a point of contact. I didn't find out that I had a point of contact to get through all that dense material
Mhm.
until I was a week behind on the training and they wanted to know what was going on.
Now, was the one manager still there then, or was she gone already?
But she was there, but I had a training manager. I had her as my manager, but I also had a training manager.
Oh,
But
for all the info. Okay, I got you.
right, and the training manager I had, he talked to me 3 times in the 6 weeks I was in training. So there was 4 weeks of like, there's supposed to be 4 weeks of like this PowerPoint
Well,
stuff.
he talked to you. I got a question for you. How much did you talk to him?
I didn't.
Right.
I didn't know that I could.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't communicated to me that like,
Right.
but here's the other thing too. So like there were some other people that got this position through like these temp agencies. I got hired directly through the company.
Right.
But the people that are on my team got hired through a temp agency. So their training was like kind of, it was
Different.
online, but it was like in a classroom online environment. So there was an instructor that led them through the content.
Oh, so almost like Zoom, they was all in there together. So yours was really, you're at home by yourself. You just log in and do it yourself, right? Got you.
And yeah,
Go
it
ahead.
helps when someone is talking you through it and they're like, hey, this is important. This is how you read this. And sometimes people teach differently. So,
Mhm.
The teacher that taught, the person who taped the PowerPoint, some of the stuff he talked about, I got. And some of the other stuff I just didn't get.
Right.
And that's not his fault. It's just, you need different teachers, or if you don't understand someone's teaching style, you need to be able to ask questions so you can
You gotta be
understand.
able to ask questions. And I think that's probably, if the biggest takeaway I have from that ordeal is because I've been through things similar where you just like no guidance. You're like, man, like what, right? And that's when, and sometimes you can make it happen and figure out and find out who you need to talk to, but sometimes you can't. And that sounds like what you're dealing with or dealt with, that you just didn't have the
I
access
ran
to
into
the right people.
the last company I was with too. It was like, and I don't want to say that it's this management style or it's company specific, because I don't think that's true. I think this is just a response to COVID. Honestly, I think businesses are still recovering from the impacts of COVID, and
That's interesting.
companies saw, an opportunity to save money, to streamline training, and technology has allowed businesses to cut costs that way.
So let's
But
shift gears there. Let's keep talking, but we're going to shift gears to where you're going now.
Okay.
Keep going.
So yeah, I just think that my company tried to save money in training, and in turn, it's costing them thousands of dollars if not more than that, on the back end, because we have customers and clients that are pissed off that things aren't being handled the way that they should be being handled by people who don't know how to do their job, who also have managers that don't know how to do their job. So it's like they skipped out. They tried to skip out on the training, and in turn, they're paying for it on the back end.
So, man, that's funny, right? So today, or maybe the other day, I was kind of talking about this Zoom, Teams world we in right now, right? And while a silver lining came from COVID that you can operate
remotely,
remotely, right? You can, right? But as our kids showed us through school, it's tough for them. It was tough for kids without having that interpersonal touch feel kind of relationship, right? While it can be done, right? It shouldn't be the primary mode of your standard operating procedure. You shouldn't only you shouldn't only have, and we just was talking about this. We meet a lot, all right? We meet a lot, right? And so for the new people that come on a team, right? And this is maybe 14 of us direct leaders, right? And for a new person to come on and everybody's on the screen, you got these 14, 15 boxes on the screen. It's a lot of interpersonal skills that's being missed. Yeah, you meet each other like this, right? But it's some things that's being missed. Like you really can't gain trust and get a real feel for someone through this screen, right? And so I can imagine, like, I can't, like, going through training and I mean, you did it, we did it, we made it through COVID. I mean, of course, it's still here, but the processes, we learned different processes, we learned how to operate a different way. But I think we have to be careful that we don't lose the meat and potatoes of leadership, right? And the meat and potatoes of training. Like, it's some parts, it's just some things you have to be hands-on with, right? As the consumer or the trainee, right? It's some things that I know I gotta say, hey, hold, slow, look, I gotta come in, right? Matter of fact, I can tell you that you know your day. I go to a restaurant, they say, hey, yeah, just scan the IR code or the whatever the code and read the menu on your phone. I said, please bring me a menu, right? Bring me one that I can pick up and read, because I don't want to have to try to strain my eyes looking at my phone, right? It's just certain things that I just don't want to do, right? That I can do, but it's almost like a restaurant. It should be optional, right? It should be optional. So that's.
And I think with my job, as hard as it is and as tedious as it is, I don't think that virtual training is effective.
It should be optional.
Yes.
It should, and that's where I'm going. It should be, and that I just think in leadership, you have to look at these things. You got to look and say, okay, yeah, we made it through the big cloud. Yeah, cloud is still there, but we made it through that part. So now we have to adjust, right? How do we adjust? All right. So we got, numbers are down, training is down. The consumer is not happy, right? The consumer is not happy. The employees don't get it. So that training don't work. All right. And that's, and again, so when you going back to it, like saying that the boss or the manager is a numbers person, he can't solely be sold on the outcomes if the outcomes aren't there. Because if I'm an outcome person, if I'm a bottom line person and the bottom line is not met, I need to find out, or I'm going to find out why the bottom line isn't met, right? And so, and I'm gonna be asking those. And so again, I done closed out the thing, but I'll be asking these questions about, like, it's gonna be a confrontation, right? And I ain't talking about physical, but we're finna talk like, okay, Ashley, well, if you're not
Just,
the manager,
yeah.
why isn't this getting done?
Mhm.
Well, she says she don't understand. Why don't she understand? Okay, you need to make her, you need to get with her. And well, I don't understand. Okay, I need to get with both of y'all so I can get y'all to understand because the numbers are down, right? And if you don't have this, right? So going back, if you don't have that trust, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that trust, you never get to this conflict. Because if you don't have that conflict, because that manager because he's new, he may not feel comfortable that he can go to his boss and say, hey man, this ain't right. Right? This is not right. No, blase, whatever it is, A and B. Go ahead.
I feel really comfortable in saying I think that's where my manager is.
Right.
Like
right.
he sees the gaps, because when he talks to me, he's like, it makes sense, why you're overwhelmed and, all this stuff is going on. He was like, it makes sense.
Right.
He was just like, but you need to cover yourself. And I'm like, I don't really want to. I feel like they let me kind of get to this point. And, I don't really feel like I have help.
Right. Right. And so, and then, like I say, if when it goes that way, you just got this vicious cycle, right? This vicious cycle, because I'm sure that it's not just you, and it's almost the stat says not you. You just said the turnover, the highest tenure is 1 year, all right? So that's telling you a lot. That says a lot about what's going on, and for the leadership of the organization need to step back and look at that and address that. But part of that, all right, is the information is stuck somewhere, right? And while it is probably on your manager that is stuck there, it's also stuck from the top. Because again, I can't say this enough, if it's about the numbers, if I'm about the numbers and the numbers aren't where they're supposed to be, I'm trying to drill in, like we was talking about in the last podcast. When we lose, we start turning over rocks to try to figure out why we're losing.
Right.
Right. I don't keep beating on the table saying we're losing. Right. That don't make any sense.
Adjustment. Yeah.
All right. You have to adjust.
They're not responding to my low productivity with new ways to help. Really, it's just like they just keep asking me, like, why isn't it done? Or hey, call this person, or hey, do this, or hey, do that. And I'm like, when I call them, what am I asking them for? What do I need to do? Like, once I call them, what happens after that? What do I need to tell them? Like, what do I need to refer to make sure that I'm giving it? Because when I call them, I'm going to tell them that I need something, but then they're going to have a whole bunch of questions for me, and I have no idea how to help them.
Right. Yeah. So
I don't want to call because I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't spoken to anyone to guide me through what I'm supposed to do. So when I call these people and they start asking me questions, I don't know. So I can't help them. My role is to be able to help them get their problem solved. Right. But I don't know how to help them. I know how to call them because my job called them, but I don't have nothing about questions I'm supposed to ask. I don't know what I'm supposed to get from them. I don't know where to look to answer any taboo questions. And the stuff I get is so wild that I can't, it's not something I can rely on previous knowledge to figure out.
Right.
I need to know how to do this job specifically.
Right.
And I don't. So now I'm just going to keep collecting a paycheck until they no longer want to give me one.
Until they see this podcast. I'm just
for me to speak this openly about it, Dad, that's.
Yeah, I get it. And
that's how much I'm disconnected. I'm really scared in that, I'm probably going to have, when it gets to that point, I'm not going to get paid or, but it's also started to push me more into my entrepreneurial endeavors. I've opened myself up to do more stuff in that capacity, because I'm also realizing I no longer want to support someone else's dream. I want to support my own. and it's hard and it's scary and it's challenging, and I don't want to be broke, and I want to be able to do.
Well, when it's hard, when it's hard and scary, that means you're supposed to do it.
That's when it's time to go.
That's what no, I'm talking about your dream.
Yeah, it's time to.
Yeah, it's time to go after it, because if it was easy and not scary, you ain't dreaming big enough, right? So we'll kind of as we'll kind of close out on this note, right? On this note, you want to seek these challenges, right? You want to really set these bar and set your standard out in front of you, right? That you really got to exert a lot of effort and energy, into getting it, whatever it is, like and when you get there, you don't rest, right? You don't celebrate too long, right? Because you got to put another bar in front of you, right? And you just keep going after your success. Because entrepreneurship is tough. Entrepreneurship is tough, but it's worth it, right? It's worth it if that's what you want to do. And the question always has to come to is this what I want, right? And if you answer that question yes, hey, gotta go get it.
Right. So I think that's where I'm at. It's forced me to like reach out to different contacts, and I look at every person as a business opportunity now. And my mind is there, and I think that I can't do all the extra stuff that I enjoy with this income missing, but I do think that I would be able to support myself and pay my bills.
Gotcha.
So
well, all right. That sounds like a plan. Wow, man. This here.
Sorry, we pay off.
No. Listen, that's good combo, right? Because you'll be surprised that somebody else is probably in the same situation, right? And I always try to look inward first. How the hell I get here, right? Like, okay, right. I remember I posted something the other day that talked about accountability. Accountability seems like an attack when the person isn't ready to accept their fault. Right? And when you're being held accountable, or you hold someone else accountable, it seems they get defensive when they ain't ready to say, okay, yeah, that's right.
You're right. Yeah.
Right. And so I always say, look at you first, right? Look at you first. And once you check yourself and it still ain't right, then it's kind of, hey, we're trying to move on. It's time to move on. But great combo, Ashley. Great combo. Like, look, we rolling. I know we kind of got off a week. We had a lot of stuff going on, but we back at it. Got anything?
No, thank you for the combo. I think we initially intended to support others with this content, but I think this conversation actually helped me kind of navigate what was going on. Like all I knew is I didn't know, but I didn't realize that there was other things at play that was impacting
underlying factors.
So I appreciate that we're doing this, because not only are we just getting what we think out, we're actually processing live.
No question.
And, we're helping ourselves, and at the same time could be helping someone else. So I just have a new appreciation for what we're doing after today.
All right. Well, all right, folks. Let's end this episode, week 3. See y'all next week.
Peace.